house with O'Con. Hey, O'Con, in your house. Hollywood in your house. Hypocrisy's head in the clouds. Curating all kind of loud. Wrestling in front of the crowds. Paragon's holding it down. Anybody can get it. Come to us for your news and opinions. We got a voice. There is no choice. We're them boys in your house making wrestling noise. Moving fast, it's like cruiserweight action. In your house is a perfect distraction. Proper see your ears when you in traction. Get this work with some wrestling action. Slow.
What's up, guys? What's cracking? The Con Man, and I'm in your house. We here. We ready to make a movie. I hope you guys are ready to make a movie. I hope you guys are with the shits, because, hey, we're with the shits, and we're ready to talk a little wrestling. That's right. You guys already know the vibes. Anytime we slide on through, we're here to give you that work when it comes to this professional wrestling business. And, guys, you already know what we're here and what we're doing and what the vibe is. I mean, it's heavy vibes right here. So I'm just go ahead and bring the team in right now. Of course, my producer of the show is here doing this thing, Hypocrisy Jones. How's it going, bro?
What up, yo?
What is up, man? Appreciate you coming on. We got the voice, Josh Joseph, here to ready to do the daggone thing here at In Your House. What's up, bro?
I can't wait to get it going.
Let's get it, man. Grummeister, how you feeling, bro?
Feeling good, man. Ready to go.
All right. And of course, the world's most dangerous podcaster, Paragon, is here in your house. And man, we got a heavy situation, y'all. Heavy situation, because we've been advertising this for the last week. And we've been looking forward to it. We've had a really great interview series that we've had where we've had Misa Kate, NWA's Misa Kate. You know, then we got Bill Alfonso coming to you in a couple of weeks. It's all going to be great. But we was able to get this one, and this is a heavy situation. This man, I've been watching him since his Ring of Honor days, back when he was doing this thing with the House of Truth, man. And he's just really come to prominence doing this thing. Had some great runs in NXT. Recently, they were not able to come to terms on a contract, him and the WWE. So now they've gone their separate ways, which has opened him up to do a lot of cool things right now. And that is Donovan Dijak. He is here at In Your House. How's it going, bro?
Good, dude. How are you?
Doing good, man. Appreciate you taking some time out your schedule to come and talk to us.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's great. It's great, man. So I just want to jump right into it, man. I just kind of talked a little bit about, you not renewing with WWE, and now you're on this, this run of going to the Indies. And it seemed like it goes really quick, man. Like just that quick. Like you got out of that contract and it was boom, you was already on shows. And like that goes to that. I mean, even what you have there on your shoulder there just proves my point. You were just in Pennsylvania this past weekend. I believe it was Uniontown for Rise Wrestling, and you ended up becoming the Rise Grand Champion. I got to ask you, man, from the time that you come out of this contract to you hitting the ground running, just jumping right into the Indies, and now already touching gold this soon, how's this run been for you in such a short amount of time since leaving?
It's been overwhelming. Like what everybody saw is kind of what I was living in real time, right? Because obviously this wasn't something that I could tell promoters. This wasn't something I could plan for. The really the whole thing came together in about less than 10 days, really, between the time when I found out that that WWE would not be renewing my contract until the time when I decided to finally announce it. And in that time, I was trying to pick my timing. I was trying to decide what the best date was, whether there were surprise opportunities, things like that. But, trying to piece all that stuff together last second with a bunch of people who didn't know that this was going to happen, including myself, is not the easiest thing in the world. Thankfully, once that announcement hit and I was free the 2 days after that, things just started to really kind of line up in place. And again, there's been some firewalls that we've run into, right? It's tough trying to book out the entire month of July when most promoters, have their shows written and booked, 3 or 4 months in advance. So the fact that I was able to get work and to get kind of the work that I've been looking for, whether promotions that I'm, very close with and that gave me opportunities back in 2018, 16, 15, 14, back before I was with WWE and Ring of Honor, or new promotions like Rise that I've never been to before, where we've been able to work out things very quickly, with very little turnaround. Rise was one of the companies that hit me up right away, first day, and we got the ball rolling in terms of booking dates and things like that. And I think that there's been a really solid and strong return on investment on both ends of the business agreement. So to me, I'm very fortunate, but again, to circle back to what I said originally, it's been kind of overwhelming, trying to piece everything together
Yeah.
all last minute, right? Because as of this moment, what's today? Today's June 15th. So 1 month ago, I was still in WWE, and I still thought I was going to be in WWE for a long time. So we're not. The body is not cooled yet. So it's been a whirlwind. I've been on a bunch of shows. I was a surprise on a few shows. And now I have my first championship already. So if you'd asked me a month ago if this would be the case, I would have said probably not. But here we are, and it's exciting. It's exhilarating. There's just a lot of stuff going on all the same time, and I've been pleasantly surprised with it.
Man, that's great to hear as far as what you're saying. I really like what you're saying in terms of how you just kind of had to just really just focus and zero in on trying to make this adjustment in your life happen, and you're seeing success with it and touching success. And we've seen a lot of these, we've seen a lot of great talents that will leave the company and then, make a big name for themselves, and then, possibly even come back at some point. I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit at some point, but man, it's just great to see you out there, because I've always been a fan of what you do ever since like the Ring of Honor days. And I was like, man, this guy is like seriously a creator wrestler. Like, he's huge. He's like 6'7", 6'8", flying around the ring. It's just insane. It's great to see. But I'm going to throw it to my man Grunmeister here. Do you got a question for Donovan Dijak?
I do. You spent about 7 years in WWE, and I was wondering, what did you learn in that time that you think is going to not just make you a great Rise Grand Champion, but also continue to raise your stock on the independent scene?
What did I learn? I mean, I learned a lot. Really, I learned a lot. It was such a valuable time in my career. I stepped foot into WWE in 2017, and I was a very well equipped professional wrestler at that point. My last match on the independent scene as Donovan Dijak was at Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, the Battle of Los Angeles 2017 against Keith Lee, and it was a critically acclaimed match. So I had the tools, and I had the resume at that point to already be where one needs to be on the independent scene in terms of to be in the shuffle at the top of the list, right? From that point, I was able to take that mindset and that skill set and turn it into something more kind of brand specific, if that makes sense, in terms of not just doing the things that are necessary to have an outstanding match, but to do the things that are necessary both in the ring and on the way to the ring and in preparation of the ring, before you get to the ring, after you get to the ring, all that other stuff that matters just as much, if not a little more, in terms of building my brand and building my presentation, and then taking the in-ring product and saying, how can I get to this level consistently, no matter what the time, platform, opponent, everything like that. So to me, that's some of the biggest skill sets that I acquired from WWE, now to the point where I feel like I'm capable of having the best matches in the world, even if it's half the time, even if it's against an opponent that nobody's familiar with, even if it's against someone who's very green. None of that matters to me, because I've had the litany thrown at me in WWE, I've had no choice but to succeed with whatever task has been put in front of me, because that's the expectation that I kind of built for myself over the course of 7 years. So that's, I'd say that is the biggest acquisition in terms of skill set and mindset that I got out of my 7 years in WWE.
Gary, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Yeah,
That
man.
was
No,
fantastic.
that was a great question and a great answer as well. Guys, we got some action here in the chat. We will get you guys some questions there for Donovan Dijak. We see y'all in the chat doing y'all thing, but I'm gonna throw it over to Voice real quick. Voice, what you got from our man Donovan Dijak?
Hi, Dijak. Thank you for joining us first and foremost. But my question to you is, being a father, I use a lot of these teachings to my kids, and I wanted to know: is this a tool you're going to use for when your kids get older, and to not give up, to use as a tool to say, hey, don't let anything knock you down? Because I mean, like you said, you are still running fast. Like, you didn't stop after the contract ended, and now you're a champion. That's my question for you.
Yeah, I mean, they're a little too young at this point to kind of understand what's going on. My daughter's only 3; she turns 4 in 2 weeks, less than 2
Wow.
weeks.
Mm.
My son is 6, and he turns 7 in a few months. So they're both not really up to terms with kind of what's happening with me professionally. I did try to kind of explain to my son that I'm not in the WWE anymore, and he didn't really he never really grasped what that meant in the first place.
Mm.
So he was just kind of a little bit confused as to what my job was now, and so I was like, yeah, well, it's kind of the same stuff. Basically, I'll be on different days. They were both excited to see a championship today. They were like, "Where did you get that championship?" And I was like, my daughter started celebrating. So
That's
Oh, that's
awesome.
nice.
that was fun. It was fun to see the look on their faces, because that's where they are
Yeah.
in their lives. I've had many conversations with them about what daddy's job is, and what this business is, and what it stands for, and how to conduct yourself in it. But as a kid, really all they want to know is whether daddy won or lost. And for as silly as that kind of sounds, but on the other hand, as much as it kind of makes sense, right? Because they're only 3 years old, 6 years old. Those weren't the easiest conversations with my kids when I was in WWE, because it's like, I bring them to the shows, and I bring them, and they watch the pay-per-views, and they watch, not that they're begging to watch it. They're not huge wrestling fans, but I'm like, hey, do you want to see what I did this weekend? Sure. But all they want to know is whether I won or lost. And it's like, okay, well, for the most part in WWE, I was losing quite a bit. So it's trying to teach them life lessons, to circle back to your question. But it's, yeah, I try to teach that stuff outside of the context of professional wrestling.
Okay.
Once they get a little older, then we can kind of circle back and be like, hey, this is what happened, and maybe this was the end result, and maybe this was the end result, and we can have a more fluid discussion about it. But just overall, as a concept, I always tell them, and I always harp on them and really drill it into their consciousness, that they need to figure out what their goals are, and have big dreams and aspirations. And I want them to know, and I've told them this constantly, that whatever they want to do, whatever their goals are, whatever their dreams are, I want them to express that, and I want them to understand that anything is possible as long as you commit yourself to it, and you commit your mind to it, and you tell yourself that no matter what, I'm going to persevere to ascertain that goal. It doesn't matter what things get in my way. It doesn't matter what obstacles are in my way. As long as I commit to being the best in the world, it's something that is 100% in my grasp. And then the chips will fall as they may afterwards. And you can't worry about things that you can't control. You can only control the things that are controllable. So that's the message that I consistently deliver to them, even though they're very young, and it's probably
Yeah.
in one ear and out the other, and
Yeah.
wondering when they're gonna go to Chuck E. Cheese. But I'm still gonna continuously deliver that message.
That's beautiful. I love that.
And hopefully moments like this and times like this, tumultuous times in my professional career, we can look back one day and have real life discussions about those to help give them some perspective.
That's awesome.
Yeah. No, it is. As a father myself, and my mother telling me back when I was young, the exact thing that you tell your kids is that, you can only control the things you can control. And that always resonated with me. It always stuck with me during times of crisis or anxiety. There's like, you know what? I can only control the things that I can control, and everything else, it's just got to let it be, and see where the cards fall and base it on that. So I really like that answer, man. You said something about how they only really care about the wins and losses. And I totally get that, especially at that age, that's kind of what you care about. But like, I was really just kind of going back to your NXT catalog and like your matches with like Keith Lee and Ilya Dragunov and man, so many. Actually, Keith Lee right there in the chat. Some of your matches there with Keith Lee, Joe Gacy. I just watched the one with the Last Man Standing match with you and Ilya Dragunov from 23 Battlegrounds. And I was like, man, that was just amazing. Such an incredible match. And it was just it was cinema, bro. It was cinema. But I'm gonna throw it over here to my man P. What you got for Donovan Dijak?
So, as a House of Truth student to a former House of Truth stablemate, I know that you are a husband, you have kids, and with them being young, they probably haven't had to deal with until recently parenting with you being on the indies versus parenting with you being signed to a contract. What do you feel is the difference, or maybe some obstacles you have being a family man on the indies versus being a family man with the WWE, or I know you were with ROH, and we don't know what the future holds for you, speaking positivity into that. But, let's say a future contract comes up. What do you deem the differences are, and how has that experience been for you then versus now? Or what are some of the changes you're seeing? Because I know there's going to be some indie wrestlers watching this who are family men, who are potentially going to go through these struggles or are currently going through these struggles. And so I feel like wrestlers getting to hear that insight of, hey, this is your dream and this is what you want to do. This is what you might have to look forward to with your family.
Yeah, it's just time at this age. It's just time. People, you would think that being on a WWE contract and being on the WWE schedule would be more rigorous. The reality is that it's, for me anyway, and for where I was and the way I was being booked, it was significantly less rigorous. The whole time I was in WWE, so I was in WWE from 2017 until 2024, just a month or a few weeks ago. So from 2017 to 2020 was my first black and gold NXT run. We didn't really ramp up the house show schedule for that until the end of 2019, the beginning of 2020, because that's when we got the USA TV network deal. And my son was only 2 or 3 years old, so he was just a baby at home with my wife, and I was there fairly often up until that point because mostly everything was in Orlando, right? We would just go to TV in Orlando. I'd come home, and we were all living there. I'd go to a Coconut Loop show, a couple 2 or 3 days a weekend, but it was all in Florida, so it's just drive there, come back, drive there, come back. So yeah, I'm gone a lot of nights, but I'm there most of the days. And then there'd be an occasional road loop where I'd be gone for 2 or 3 days. That didn't amp up until the end of 2019, beginning of 2020. Then we started to get that taste of like, okay, this is what this house show life is going to be like, this road life. And it started to get difficult. But then boom, COVID hit, and I was home all the time. I was home all the time, pretty much until just a couple, well, I shouldn't say that because, so COVID, all the pandemic, it was just TV and just TV home, gone max 2 days a week, and that's it, because I was able to move back to New England, and then they would fly me in and fly me back, and I'd be gone, 1 or 2 days if I was booked. Once house shows picked back up, they didn't put me on the house shows. I asked to be on the house shows, but they just didn't. It turned into this like super show thing where only the top guys are on house shows, and I was like, okay, well, I get to spend more time with my family. That's fine. Once I got moved down to NXT, I basically volunteered to do like these weeks, like 1 week a month of like the full week at the Performance Center to help out with training and stuff like that. And then in that week, I would also do a coconut loop. So I'd be gone for like a week at a time. But for the most part, it was still that similar schedule where 3 out of 4 weeks would just be 2 days down, and the rest of the week back. So for the most part, I was with my kids. And the fortunate part about most of this is that I got all of the weekend with my kids. There's been very little time since my kids have been able to talk, basically. There's been almost no time where I've consistently not had the weekends with them. That's going to change now. That's going to change because my job now is the weekends, right? That's my schedule's booked up very full at this point.
Yeah.
And basically almost everything is sometimes a Thursday, but usually a Friday, and 100% of the time a Saturday, and 100% a Sunday. So it's just, and the reality of my kids is one's in kindergarten and the other's in preschool. They're in summer now, so they'll be going on to the next grade.
Yeah.
But yeah, they go to school during the weeks and they get the weekends off. That's just how kids are. So now I have to kind of face the reality that that even though I'm home, most Mondays, most Tuesdays, most Wednesdays, most Thursdays, I don't get to see them most of the day until that time at the end. And then it's like you gotta spend some quality time because you're going to be gone most of the weekend. That's kind of a tough pill to swallow for me at this point. So, it is what it is. I'm going to have to figure it out. I'm going to have to get better at it. Thankfully, I live in New England. There's a lot of good local indies, so I'm doing as many not favors, but I want to pay back to the local promoters, especially the ones who gave me a platform before I was in WWE, who gave me the opportunity when I was on the rise to both kind of kill two birds with one stone, so I can both stay local, have those Fridays with my kids and then go to a show still, have those Saturdays with my kids and go to a show still. But that being said, I got a lot of stuff all over the world. So it's trying to make it work as best you can within the context of let's get as much time with the kids as possible, but also we gotta, you gotta do your job, and your job involves travel. I'm going to end up traveling a lot more now than I did. Even this last weekend, this wasn't even that busy of a weekend, but my travel schedule was, I only had 2 shows, but I had to do a connection to get to Pittsburgh, and then a connection to get to Montreal, and then a 3-hour drive to get to Quebec City. And then the second we finished the show, I did a 3-hour drive back, just caught the flight, international flight back to Boston, drive Boston back home. So I did all that within a real tight window of 48 hours. And by the end of it, I was like, oh boy, thankfully my wife let me sleep in this morning. But yeah, it was the first time I'd done that in a very long time. And I'm like, boy, I got a lot more of this coming up. So I got to get right back in the grind of it. Because the last time I was doing weekends like that, I was 28 years old. So now I'm 37. I got 2 kids. So I gotta figure out a better way to do it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, no, it's I mean, it seems like it's a good problem to have. You're in high demand, as you should be.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, I've been watching you for years, man, and you're just like so damn good. Like, it's ridiculous how good you are. Like, I enjoy watching what you do in Ring of Honor. I enjoyed watching what you do in NXT, the matches that you've had. So I guess I'm just gonna come right out and ask, man, like, you're booked and busy doing your thing, but have you had enough time to find some clarity on what you want to do as far as what your future is? Could we see something like a AEW in your future, a return to Ring of Honor in your future? Could we see you raise your stock and maybe go at some time go back to WWE, New Japan? Do you have a linear plan right now, or are you all just kind of taking it all in and taking it, kind of one step at a time at this point?
I've always, just from my own sort of planning perspective and from what I teach students or people that just ask me, it's always good to have a short-term plan, like a medium-term plan, and then a long-term plan, right?
Yeah.
The long-term plan is going to be a lot more vague, especially for me at this point, right? Because my long-term plan was always, you're going to be the top guy in WWE. You're going to main event WrestleMania. You're going to be the best wrestler in the world. That was always my long-term plan, right? So that needs some adjusting now, right? Because like now it's like, all right, well that window's it's not closed, but like I'm 37 years old and I just finished up a 7-year run with WWE. So the likelihood of me becoming the top guy in WWE and main eventing a bunch of WrestleManias seems less likely, especially considering it's not a decision that is ultimately up to me. Would I be open to returning to WWE long term? Of course. There's no ill will, there's no animosity, nothing like that. I'm still thankful to everything that all the people in WWE did for me. Of course, I'm disappointed with the last situation. I've been very upfront about that.
Yeah.
But there's been much worse breakups in WWE history that turned into good situations for both parties a little bit down the road. So it's nothing like that. I'm gonna continue to tell the truth, as it's not like CM Punk ever stopped telling the truth about how he felt.
Yeah.
That one.
Different. So there's there, and Cody's the same way. He's very upfront about how he felt about Stardust and all that stuff. So listen, it's situational. Long-term plans are I want to show as many people as I possibly can that I want them to feel how I feel about my presentation. I want them to feel that I project as the best wrestler in the world, because I feel that I'm the best wrestler in the world. I want to be on the platform where I can prove to them that I'm the best wrestler in the world. And I'm gonna take whatever platform that exists in. So that's my long-term plan. And then the short-term plan is as many shows as possible, as many championships as possible, as many great opponents as possible. Just work my ass off, never take a second off, do everything I possibly can to make sure that I'm grinding, I'm hustling, I'm doing everything in my power to make sure that I'm continuously supporting my family and getting the most out of what I am right now, which is my prime. And I felt like some of my prime was slipping through my fingers in WWE, right? Another week at TV with nothing, another week at TV with nothing. Yeah. I'm like, oh, I'm in my prime. I can't, I can't be wasting these years.
Yeah.
I'm going to look back at this in 10 years and be like, man, when I was 37, I should have been wrestling more. Now I get that opportunity, and I'm going to take advantage of it as much as I possibly can, within the confines of understanding, what needs to happen and what age I'm at and how I can get the most out of the mileage that I have left in my tank. And in terms of the medium-term plan, I'm open to any and all major companies. I will consider contracts. I will consider all of that stuff when the timing is right. The timing will be right. There needs to be conversations about presentation and things like that, because that's somewhere where I fell short in WWE. Yeah. I didn't have enough conversations about how I would be presented and what the context of what was happening was. I was just, hey man, hey guys, I'm going to be here. I'm going to do everything that I possibly can in my power, and I'll prove to them that I'm worth taking to the next level. And it didn't work out that way. So a lot of that's on me. A lot of that is my responsibility, and I need to take ownership of that. And I'm not going to let that happen again. I'm too deep into my career to allow a situation where I just show up and say, all right, I'm going to prove myself. There needs to be conversations beforehand about what is this presentation going to look like? Is there room for upward mobility? I see myself at this level. Is it a possibility to see me at this level as well? Those are all conversations that need to have. And if they don't work out in one company, maybe they'll work out in another company. And that's just where I currently stand too. So that's kind of my plans in terms of the vagueness
Yeah,
and how they're moving forward.
I like
yeah,
that.
for sure. Yeah.
I know he mentioned collecting championships in short term. Well, if you ever make yourself to Indiana, this one's staying with me. Just letting you know.
Challenge.
Oh.
It's challenge day.
Challenge day.
I was just announced for Illinois, but I don't think Indiana, as far as I know.
I know a promotion called Emerge Wrestling. I would love to have you.
Listen, bookdijak@gmail.com. It's
Got it.
not a ton of open dates, and I kind
Yeah,
of
for sure.
I kind of shut it off at the end of December. I'm not taking anything in 2025 yet because it's just too unclear, and I don't want to be canceling a bunch of dates or anything like that. It's
Sure.
But in terms of 2024, there's still, I still probably got about like maybe 8 to 10 dates left. If somebody wants to reach out and try to fill some open spots, I'm sure we can work something out. But yeah, it's not a ton.
Yeah, for sure. As we don't expect it to be, man. You should be out there with the talent that you possess and everything that you do, man. Like I said, been a fan of yours for a while, so this was a real treat. It was a pleasure chatting you up and talking to you, man. I'll go ahead and give you guys a chance to give your final thoughts to Dijak before we let him slide out of here. It's been a great episode and been really just eye-opening in a lot of different ways to kind of hear your journey and the way you look at things and the way that you've been dealing with such an abrupt change to your regular life and the way that you do things. So Grun, I'm gonna throw it to you. Any final thoughts for Dijak before we slide out of here?
I think you had a great last run in NXT. I wish you had debuted on Raw and done some stuff there, but I wish you the best of luck in the rest of the year and in 2025.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Right on, man. Voice, what do you got? Final thoughts?
Man, I just want to say, speaking to you, you are so well spoken, and you are just a professional, man. And it's really an honor to speak to you and to see you see the whole situation and know exactly where you want to go and who you are. It's just really awesome to see a guy like you do that, and I can't wait to see you do more work.
Well, thank you very much. Just fortunately for me, I've had a ton of experience both in life and in the wrestling business. So I mean, that's it. A lot of it's just perspective, right? Just maintaining perspective, seeing what happens to people around you, understanding kind of how the business works, how life works, and things like that. And also understanding that I don't have it all figured out. I'm just playing the cards as they come, and understanding that I'm going to make decisions that I feel are the best in that moment, and that if they turn out to not be not the right decisions, that's okay too. It's all about just moving with the flow of things.
Be in water.
Yes.
Yes. Right on, man. P, what you got, man? Final thoughts. House of True Student, a House of True Stablemate.
I mean, well, like you said, House of True Student. I remember when they announced that you were signing with WWE, and pretty much me being a House of Truth student. And actually, the year you got signed was the year that I started training. So I was always keeping a specific eye on people who were part of that stable, because I was like, oh, I'm getting to learn under Martin's learning tree and things like that. And I remember, when I heard you guys sign, I was like, oh, so how do you feel about this? And he was like, well, in wrestling, there are some people, you know Martin's voice. There are some people in wrestling who they get it, and they put themselves in positions that they deserve to be in. And he's like, and I love seeing him do. He called you by your government. I'm not going to do that. But he's like, I love seeing him do what he's doing there. It's kismet, because he always has to be poetic when he says something with that deep voice of his. So I love seeing your journey and following it.
Thank you. Yeah, one wonderful guy. I learned so much under Truth, and it's always good to see his school being successful, because I think as talented as a manager and a performer and a wrestler that he used to be, I think all of it, I think his most poignant trait and his greatest legacy will be his leadership and his teaching ability. I really think that's his number one legacy, because I think he's outstanding at all of it.
And I'm sure he would appreciate hearing that. I'll make sure he gets to look at this video and be like, see, so recognize who you are sometime.
Man, yeah, good thoughts, man, for sure. Hype. Could you not only just give us your final thoughts, but could you give us some thoughts from the chat too, just to kind of let them know, like, hey, we see you and Dijak is here, he's seeing that stuff. So just prattle off those thoughts real quick and give us some of yours.
Yeah. So Dijak, first and foremost, thank you for coming on with us. We really appreciate you. I've also been following your work for a very long time when you were Donovan Dijak before the Dijakovic, and when you were doing all those amazing matches with in PWG with Keith Lee, and I know a lot of the household, they love those matches that you had put on with Keith Lee in NXT and things like that. But if you have a second, I got one quick question. Do you think with the draft class, or with the class that you were in NXT, it was really deep with indie guys, but for you especially as a bigger guy, do you think that the philosophy in WWE has changed on a big man? And being as for a long time we knew that Vince McMahon liked big guys, but do you think his philosophy changed and didn't know how to utilize them correctly, or in the way that they should be?
I think the whole WWE philosophy changed, not just Vince, but just overall in WWE. The whole, I think even for the fans, it changed quite a bit. The reality is that I don't think being big and tall is a huge. I don't want to say it's not an asset, right? Because there's still big guys and tall guys, but not a ton, right? It's not what it used to be, where you had to be 6'2" or taller, and if you were 6'7" or taller, you were 100% a world champion. Like, that's the way it used to be. Not so much anymore, right? Now it's, when I looked around the locker room, it was like, in terms of guys who were 6'6" or taller, there was like 4 of us. Right. Now there's like 3. So it's not the land of the giants that it once was. And you can argue for either one, right? You could argue, I'm sure there's people out there who would love more big, tall guys, and I'm sure there's people out there who are like, hey, we just care about work rate. I don't care how big or tall the guy is. I always prided myself on being both of those things, right? Obviously, I can't control my height, but I'm tall. So I wrestle my size as best I can and things like that. But I always said to myself, I'm not just going to rely on being a big, tall guy. I'm gonna try to be the best wrestler in the world, period, regardless of size. I think the company philosophy changed. I think the fans' viewpoint on that changed. I want people to look at me and say, that's an outstanding wrestler. I don't want people to look at me and say, that's an outstanding big, tall wrestler, right? Because I don't want to be shoehorned into that. I don't want that to be the be all end all about what I am. And I think sometimes it is. And that's I'm going to take that as motivation, right? Because at the end of the day, I don't want to be the best tall wrestler in the world. I want to be the best wrestler in the world, period. End of story. I don't care how tall I am. I don't care if that limits me in doing different things. I'm in the prime of my career. I feel athletically at 100% because of the fortune I've had in terms of not wrestling too often over the past 3 or 4 years. So I'm going to continue to push myself. I'm going to continue to train. I'm going to continue to get better. I'm going to continue to go from place to place, wrestling the best wrestlers in the world. And I'm always striving and continuing to get better. And that's what you're going to see until I reach a point in an age where I can't anymore, which, quite frankly, if I'm being honest, isn't tremendously far away in the grand scheme of things, right? Like, eventually I'm going to hit 45 and that prime window will start to close, right? So I'll be honest, I'm in a rush in terms of what I want to accomplish and the window of time I have to do it. So I'm going to put my foot to the floor. I'm going to put the pedal to the metal. I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that happens, because at the end of the day, I don't want to be remembered as one of the best tall wrestlers ever. I want to be remembered as the best wrestler ever. That's it.
Well, you're definitely one of the best wrestlers that we've had on this program, and thank you again for coming on, and can't thank you enough, man.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
No, it's been great, man. We just had a few comments here. Just want to throw them out there. Antonio Fry says that shows that he's a hot commodity. Tony Gonzalez saying your matches with Keith Lee are some of his favorite. He's a big fan of those. Antonio Fry would like to see you run it back with Keith Lee. I think a lot of us would. AEW, that's some question there that was had. I mean, you pretty much said he's open to anything. We had a question here from Annie O'Neill. She's just asking, how do you feel about, after such an anticipated change in your professional life? I feel like you kind of answered that though, and gave us insightful answers about that. The Bulkster asked about the opportunity to return to WWE. Would you? Of course, we know, that's something that you're open to. You're going to be booked and busy. Being in such high demand is a good problem to have. That's for sure. That's for sure. Maybe a trip to London where the best wrestle from Antonio Fry. I'd like to see you do something in the UK, do something in Japan as well. That'd be amazing to see you.
I got Rev Pro coming up next weekend. Not this weekend, but next weekend.
Oh, there we go.
There we go.
Man, yes. No, that's great. So my final thoughts for you, man, before we let you get out of here, man, is that, like I said, big fan of what you do. It's been great to talk to you, chat you up, and get a little bit of your time. From your time, from the time that I first saw you in Ring of Honor as Dominic Dijakovic, I was like, man, this guy just jumps off the screen. And then I actually saw you wrestle, and I was like, my God, this guy is absolutely incredible. Like I said at the top of the show, just a creator wrestler. And not only just that, it's the sheer brute force that you use. Like, it's not the fact that you can fly or do all that stuff. It's just the fact that, like, matches that you, like, once again, like the last man standing match you had with Ilya Dragunov, just brutal in a great watch, man. And then, of course, just the toughness that you have to go through things like this right here, of course, broken finger there. My goodness.
Was that the Wes Lee match that finger got broken?
Yes.
Oh.
Yep. But still, like I said, just an amazing competitor. So, and then to pick your brain has just been so great, man. So once again, want to thank you for your time. Appreciate you, man. And hopefully sometime down the line, we can get you back on here. And hopefully sometime down the line, we'll see you on our TV screens again.
With more gold.
For sure. Sounds good. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it myself. I don't know when or where it'll be, but I can almost guarantee it'll happen.
Yes, I think so too. I do believe it. So thank you to Donovan Dijak for your time. Thank you, and we appreciate you, man. Best of luck to everything that you got moving forward. So you guys already know the vibes. This was Donovan Dijak. This is In Your House. For the voice, Josh Joseph. For the Grunmeister. For Hypocrisy Jones. For the world's most dangerous podcaster, Paragon. I am Alakan, the Concept House. Here to remind you to tell a friend, to tell a friend, to tell a friend to hop on this bandwagon. Get on or get gone, because the household is still going mighty strong. You guys have a great day, a great rest of your week. Dijak, thank you one more time for your time. Peace out to all you guys out there in the household.